Today, I'm going to explain a German war drama film called The Tin Drum. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The movie is set in Poland, right before the start of the Second World War. In the first scene, a woman named Anna is working in the field when a stranger comes running towards her. He introduces himself as Joseph and frantically explains that he needs help because some cops are after him. Without asking much, Anna lets him hide under her skirt. Oh. The plan works, and when the cops arrive, they find nothing and soon leave. From that day onwards, Anna and Joseph become inseparable and eventually get married. A year passes by. The two have given birth to a daughter, and life seems to be going well. However, one day, the cops eventually find Joseph and surround him near a lake. They start firing at him, so left with no options, Joseph jumps into the water. That was the last time anyone saw him. Some believe that he drowned in the water, while others say that he fled to America and became a successful businessman. Others still say that he's a merman now. On the other hand, with her husband gone, Anna has a hard time raising her daughter. She sells vegetables and sometimes her body to generate income. The movie then cuts to several years later. Anna's daughter Agnes has grown up to become a beautiful woman. Several men want her, but Agnes is in a secret affair with her own cousin, Jan. They often get intimate and have fun. However, since they cannot get married, Agnes ties the knot with a German chef named Alfred. A few months later, she becomes pregnant and gives birth to a boy, whom she names Oscar. The strange thing is that no one knows if he belongs to her husband or her lover. Oscar keeps on crying, perhaps because he didn't want to come into this world. But when Agnes promises to give him a drum when he turns 3, he calms down. Following this, the movie again fast forwards by 3 years. It is Oscar's 3rd birthday, and a lot of guests and relatives have gathered at his place. As promised, Agnes gifts him with a toy drum, making him happy. Oscar parades around the house and plays with it curiously, completely ignoring the celebrations going on. However, when he notices the grown-ups drinking alcohol, he is disgusted. So, Oscar decides to stay a child forever. That night, he jumps from the staircase and seriously injures himself. When he's taken to the hospital, the doctors diagnose that he has ruptured certain parts of the brain, which control physical growth. Now, Oscar's wish is granted. He will remain a child forever. A few weeks later, Oscar is discharged from the hospital, and he immediately starts engaging with the tin drum. He takes it everywhere he goes, whether it be at home, the market, or even at school. One day, his fed-up dad tries to snatch the drum away from him, but Oscar unleashes a scream so deadly that it smashes all the nearby glass. Realizing that the kid has superpowers, the family lets him be. What is going on in this movie? 3 more years pass, and Oscar has turned 6. He still hasn't grown by an inch, and the drum is always with him. One day at school, a teacher tries to take it away, prompting Oscar to scream loudly. This not only hurts the other students, but also shatters the teacher's glasses. At home, Agnes and Alfred have grown worried due to their son's antics. On one hand, he doesn't grow physically, and on the other hand, he is obsessed with the tin drum. They take him to different doctors around the city, but none of them can come up with a cure. Once the parents finally accept Oscar's fate, they decide to give him the best life they possibly can. So, every Saturday, Agnes takes him to the city, apparently to show him around. But in reality, she leaves him in a toy shop and goes to meet her lover, Jan. They always make sure to have vigorous intercourse. One day, Oscar catches his mom in the act, but he doesn't care at all. He simply wants to continue being a kid and play with his tin drum. 6 more years pass by. Oscar is now 12, but he hasn't aged a day from his 3rd birthday. One day, his parents take him to a circus where a bunch of dwarves are performing. Seeing them, Agnes and Alfred wonder if their son is also a dwarf. After the show ends, Oscar meets the leader of the dwarves and demonstrates his screaming abilities. Impressed, the leader invites him to join their group and tour around the world. However, before Oscar can reply, his parents arrive and take him away. Meanwhile, the Second World War begins after Warsaw comes under heavy attack from the Nazis. Hundreds and thousands of Jews are persecuted, because of which a mass emigration begins. The toy shop guy Marcus also turns out to be a Jew, and he intends to move to London as soon as possible. He wants to take Agnes and Oscar with him, apparently because he has developed a sense of affection towards them. Unfortunately, when Marcus tells Agnes about the plan, she bluntly refuses and leaves the shop, never to come back again. Some more weeks pass, and the country of Poland starts slowly plunging into chaos, with the Soviets joining in the invasion. The local people become helpless. The war affects Agnes deeply, and her son's continuous shenanigans doesn't elevate her mood either. So, one day, she starts consuming a lot of raw fish. Her family grows worried because Agnes is allergic to fish. They try to stop her, but to no avail. Unfortunately, Unfortunately, the overconsumption of raw fish takes her life as her digestive system collapses due to food poisoning. Talk about carpe diem. At her funeral, many friends and relatives come to pay their respects. Marcus is also among them, but he is swiftly sent away by the Nazis due to his ethnicity. However, after everyone leaves, he returns and quietly expresses his love for Agnes, something which he could never do when she was alive. Unfortunately, a few days later, Marcus's toy shop is burnt down by the Nazis. With his only source of livelihood gone, he plunges into depression and ultimately commits the unthinkable. When little Oscar finds out about this, he is heartbroken, not because he liked Marcus, but because his toy shop was the only one in the city which repaired drums. Since Oscar's old drum is now partially damaged, he goes to his second father, Jan, for help. The latter works at the local post office, where a lot of old drums have been kept. So, Jan takes the little boy there to get him a new one. Unfortunately, on that very day, the Nazis launch a surprise attack on the post office, eviscerating everything that comes in their way. Several men are killed on the spot, and while Jan and the others fight gallantly, they are of no match against the ruthless Nazis. At last, Jan, along with the remaining Polish survivors, are taken outside and executed one by one. But luckily, Marcus manages to hide inside the post office long enough until a good Samaritan rescues him. Now, with his mother and second father both dead, Oscar starts living with Alfred permanently. One day, the latter hires a young maid named Maria. Oscar is immediately smitten by her beauty and always tries getting close to her. Hey, let me pull a grandpa and get in those skirts. But Maria simply treats him like a child. Although they are of the exact same age, she is oblivious to it because of Oscar's tiny body frame. One morning, the little boy wakes up to an argument happening in the living room. When he goes to inspect, he shockingly sees his father and Maria berating each other in their scantily dressed attire. They were having an affair all along, but Oscar had no idea. He is heartbroken to see the love of his life being clapped by his own father. However, things are not so simple. Maria genuinely loves Alfred and wants to be with him, but he simply sees her as a commodity. He doesn't want to get married to her because of her age. That evening, as Maria is crying alone in the kitchen, Oscar tries to comfort her using his drum. Dad can diddle ya, but I can paradiddle ya. Badumps. However, this only aggravates her mood, and she pushes him away, calling him names. Maria soon realizes her mistake and approaches the little boy to apologize. But instead, he punches her in the stomach. 9 months later, we see that Maria is heavily pregnant with Alfred's child. Oscar always stays by her side, but it is apparent that he is not happy. One day, he quietly grabs a pair of scissors and attempts to kill the unborn baby. But Maria stops him in the nick of time. With his plan foiled, Oscar decides to forget about her once and for all. A few weeks later, Maria gives birth to a healthy boy, and seeing him, Oscar changes his attitude completely. He starts caring for the infant as if it is his own child. Several months later, as Oscar is strolling through the streets of Warsaw, he comes across a familiar friend. It is none other than the dwarf leader he met at the circus years ago. To Oscar's surprise, the dwarf now works for the Nazis as an entertainer. He suggests that Oscar also join his group and travel to Paris so that they can earn some money together. The little man is hesitant at first, saying he wants nothing to do with the Nazis, but when the dwarf reveals the large amounts of cash they can earn, he agrees. The decision turns out to be a good one for Oscar, as he lives some of his happiest days in Nazi-occupied Paris, along with a lavish lifestyle. He also makes some good friends who genuinely understand his problems. No one makes fun of him for the fact that he carries a tin drum wherever he goes. Moreover, Oscar also gets into a relationship for the first time in his life. She is one of the entertainers, named Roswitha, who is kind and caring towards him. Unfortunately, the happy days don't last long, as one day, some American soldiers raid the Nazi base with heavy bombing. Oscar and his friends somehow manage to escape, but Roswitha is not so lucky. She dies a painful death right in front of Oscar's eyes. The incident traumatizes the little man, and unable to cope up with the current situation, he returns home. Alfred is ecstatic to have his son back, but the same cannot be said about Maria. She still despises him for the punch he delivered to her stomach years ago. Nonetheless, Oscar is happy to be back home. When Maria's son turns 3 years old, he gifts him a tin drum, just like the one he got at the same age. Meanwhile, the war has escalated to the point where walking on the streets has become dangerous. The Nazis are now executing not only the Jews, but also innocent Poles. This terrifies Alfred, because although he is German, his entire family is Polish. So, to keep them safe, Alfred renovates his basement and hides everyone there. Unfortunately, one day the place is discovered by some Soviet soldiers. They interrogate the family one by one, and when Alfred is found to be German, he is executed on the spot. The following day, a rich and influential Polish man named Mariusz takes over Alfred's restaurant. He also conducts the recently deceased chef's funeral, citing that he knows what it feels like to lose a family member. Mariusz explains that just a few months ago, his wife and children passed away in an accident. Oscar is also present at the funeral, and this is when it finally dawns on him that he has become an orphan. His mother and both fathers have been killed. So now he wants to finally grow up and take care of himself. Oscar initiates the first step towards being an adult by throwing away his favorite tin drum. He painfully says goodbye, as it was the only thing that has stayed with him all his life. While his parents, family members, and loved ones passed away one by one, the drum always remained by his side. Just then, his stepbrother strikes him in the head with a rock, knocking him out. Everyone rushes to check on him, and when they see the blood gushing out of his nostrils, they become worried. Fortunately, there is a doctor among the funeral attendees, and he reports that Oscar is not only fine, but he will start growing again. The part of his brain that is responsible for physical growth has somehow healed after the impact. Hearing this, everyone becomes happy. In the final scene, we are shown that the gruesome war has finally ended after the fall of Berlin. Poland is liberated after almost 6 years of brutality. However, most of the country has been torn apart, so hundreds of families are emigrating to the West in search of a better life. Among them are Maria and Oscar, who hurriedly get on a crowded train and depart the city. The movie ends as Oscar notices his grandmother Anna staring at him from the station. He screams at the top of his lungs to stop the train, but because he has started growing, his powers are gone. Anna keeps on staring at him until the train goes out of sight. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.